Public Service Loan Forgiveness, or PSLF, can eliminate most, if not all, of your student loan debt as a federal employee after only working 10 years on the job. And more importantly, this financial benefit is not taxable. Last fall, this program had massive changes occur to it, but because they used emergency powers, these changes are only for a limited time. So you need to look at this and take advantage of these things now. In this episode, we're going to look at the basics of PSLF, the changes that were made, and give you some resources so you can take advantage of this program before it expires. Welcome. I'm Ed Smith, President of Valor Wealth Partners, where we're dedicated to educating federal employees on your complex and often underutilized benefits. In this episode, we want to look at the changes to the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, also called the Limited PSLF Waiver. With these changes that happened last fall, there are limited time, so you have to take advantage of them before October 31st of 2022. So let's look at what happened. On October 3rd of last year, 60 Minutes came out with a really good expose that was talking about how some people in the military really got taken advantage of and didn't get their benefits that they deserved. 3 days later, the U.S. Department of Education came out with a massive overhaul. It's really a coincidence that was 3 days later. Obviously, the news report was coming out from 60 Minutes, and they wanted to make sure that they were in good light. So thank you for 60 Minutes for making sure that this was right in front of people and that massive changes were made. Now, there were a lot of injustices that have been done over the years on the public service loan forgiveness, and it's got a bad rap. For most times, it's a really good program, but you have to follow the rules. Sometimes the loan servicers made really gross misconduct, and they've actually had lawsuits against them. We're not going to get too much into that, but we are going to talk a little bit about what you need to be able to do. About a week after the U.S. Department of Education made these changes, Dave Ramsey came out and said this was a scam. You know, Dave, this is not a scam. A scam would be when somebody's getting a financial benefit for taking advantage of another person. The U.S. government is not getting a financial benefit for people forgiving their loans. This is something that the federal employees deserve, and other people that qualify under the program deserve because of the service that they're doing. One of the other problems with Dave Ramsey coming out and doing this is his exposure. The video that I have in the description section has over 375,000 views as of this morning. Most other videos that talk about the benefits of the program or how to take advantage of the program have less than a couple hundred views. The most I found was one that had 60,000 views, one had 10,000 views, but most of them are around that 100 view series, which means a lot of people aren't getting this information. Most people don't even know about public service loan forgiveness, especially in the federal sector. Part of the reason is because most people don't talk about it. And so we need your help to get the information out that people should be looking at this program. Now, there have been problems with it in the past. People have not qualified it, and most of these changes rectify those problems. But again, it's a limited program. Once this expires, it will most likely not be extended, and there probably will not be new laws to make these changes permanent. So you want to be able to look at what you need to do now. Even if you don't have the amount of times to qualify for full forgiveness, some of the years that you have in the past might qualify and get you in a better standing. To understand the changes, we first have to understand the rules of public service loan forgiveness. Now remember, the changes are only temporary, so these rules on public service loan forgiveness stand as they are. The first is that it has to be a direct student loan. There's many different types of student loans out there, so you have to make sure you have the right type. The next is the type of repayment. Either standard or income-based repayment programs allow you to get forgiveness. All others do not allow you to get forgiveness at this time. The next is you have to have 120 payments from a qualified employer. Now, there's a lot of different types of qualified employers. While we're looking at federal employees, there's also people that work for nonprofits, say a doctor or a nurse. They might be working for a different type of nonprofit. Those also qualify. Also municipal and tribal governments and state governments, those all qualify too. So there's a lot of qualified employers. Another thing you have to look at when you're looking at qualified employers is that it does not have to be consecutively with the same employer, or you could have a break-in service. You just have to have 120 qualified payments from an employer that qualifies under the system. You also have to be working at that qualified employer when you file your application. So there's a lot of different rules on the public service loan forgiveness. We don't want to get too much in depth. We have a whole video on student loans and also talking about public service loan forgiveness and some of the specific numbers as far as why people are qualifying and why people are not qualifying for this program over the course of years. You can get it to this link that we have up above and take a look at it because it's very educational. Now let's look at the changes that were made to the rules I just talked about so you can better understand how important this is and how beneficial it can be for you. First off, we talked about the type of loan, that it had to be a direct student loan. With these changes, now you can qualify for an FFEL or a Perkins loan. This is a huge change. Now, to get the forgiveness, you have to consolidate them to a direct loan. So you still need to be a direct loan to get the forgiveness. But the payments that you made for an FFEL or a Perkins loan, so Perkins loans were pretty old, so if you have them, you've been paying up for them for quite a few years. But those payments that you've made to those loans now qualify for forgiveness or towards your 120 payments. The one loan that does not count is the private loan. So if you've consolidated them to outside of the government programs, they do not qualify. Even if the payments that you made before would have qualified, if you've consolidated them, no longer are you eligible to be able to do this. So you might have been able to consolidate to get a better rate, but you've just hurt yourself because now you can't get those loans forgiven. The next big thing I talked about was the repayment option, that you had to be either standard or on an income-based repayment plan. Now, any type of repayment plan, as long as they were at a qualified employer, does count. So now they're really opening that up. So any type of these types of loans and any type of repayment plan. So these are two huge things that people that have previously been denied for a PSLF or people that thought they would never qualify, now they qualify, but it has to be in this limited window. So when you're looking at the payments, there's been a big problem with the payments, and this really has to do with the loan servicers. What happened was that they would calculate the amount of payment that you had to make, and sometimes they were a penny off, meaning that you were a penny shy of what you should have been paying, but this is what the loan servicer told you to do, and it was set up on an automatic basis. So you could have been going for years. Those payments didn't count, and that's a huge problem. With these changes, any payment that you made counts, even if it wasn't for the full amount. It's basically looking at, were you in a repayment period? Yes, for those qualified periods, not specifically looking at the payment itself. Along with this goes with late payments. Previously, you had to have the payments on time. If you were more than 15 days late, the payment didn't count. So while you may look at 30 days to affecting your credit score or affecting bad credit, if you were 15 days late, that payment doesn't count. With this change, now any payment counts, even if it was late. There is not a time limit on how late that payment, but you're in the repayment period. So sometimes if you went through hard times, those payments can still count. Going along with this, while you're in a period of the pandemic, all of those payments also count. That's not a change, but just to let you know that those payments count too. So you have about 2 years of time that you didn't have to make payments, and that's 2 years that count towards your 10 years or your 120 qualified payments, which is a phenomenal benefit to be able to look at, that you didn't pay any money and they count as payments. Another change is looking at is that while you still have to have worked at a qualified employer, you do not have to be at a qualified employer at the time of application. So if you've left the federal government or a non-for-profit agency, as long as you made those 120 payments, you can get the benefit on this. We're filming this in early January in 2022, and the law changed in October. So why did we wait 3 months to be able to do this? Well, with any government program that comes out, it normally takes a little bit of time for everything to settle out and to learn some different nuances of the program. And I didn't want to come out with a video right away, getting all excited and then not knowing all of the information. So we wanted to really figure out what's going on, doing a little bit more research of what people were finding out as they're starting to dig into the program a little bit more, because when the government does things, it's generally a little bit complex. Two of the things that have shaken out over the last couple months that weren't readily talked about when the program first came out is that PLUS loans may qualify. And I say may. They're not going to qualify in all situations, but in a lot of situations they will count. So a PLUS loan, if you have them, you still want to be looking at the program. The other thing that came out, you could get a credit for overpayment. Now, I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work. We haven't heard of any situations of the government actually giving money back because the program is still new, but they are saying that if you overpaid, you will get money back. So we'll see how that works. While this program is phenomenal and well overdue, there are some things that we still have to be looking at. First off, as I talked about before, you need to consolidate these loans to a direct loan. So if you have an FFEL or a Perkins loans, they still have to be consolidated over to a direct loan before they can be forgiven. Another thing you have to look at is if you worked for a contractor and not actually the government or the nonprofit, they don't qualify. I also mentioned earlier that if you've consolidated to a private student loan, they don't qualify either. So if you try to get a better rate, even if you qualified in the past and you deserve to get forgiveness, because you consolidated, you're not going to be able to do this. You have to be able to look at a lot of different benefits and negatives of this program. Another one is that the loan servicing programs or providers are changing. There are actually going to be a lot of different shakes-up in this coming year. Fed Loan was supposed to be ending their contract at the beginning of this year, but they've extended for the public service loan forgiveness until the end of 2022. So they're supposed to be fixing this and going through this whole process in 2022. We have heard that some loans have been shifting already to some different companies, so we have to see what that's going on. But they were a very big provider in providing information. It's going to take some time for them to unwind everything they were doing. But as of now, they are still responsible for the public service loan forgiveness. We'll see how this shakes out over the rest of 2022. The biggest thing you have to be watching out is time. This emergency powers thing, or the limited public service loan forgiveness waiver, ends on October 31st of 2022. That's Halloween. You need to make sure that you filed your application before then, even if you're looking at full forgiveness or just to get some of this qualifying time on the books, because you haven't met the whole obligation of the 120 payments. But you want to take a look at this. If you've been in any type of federal government, the military, any nonprofit, or any company that you feel may qualify, take a look at this. This is a huge program, and it can save you a lot of money. One of the things you also want to be doing is sharing this information. There is a lot of people that don't know that this is available. So please be somebody's hero. We have clients that have over $200,000 in student loans. Maybe they're in a master's or doctorate program. This can wipe out all of that debt. We have other clients that only have $20,000 in debt. You know what? If you saved me $20,000 by telling me about a program and I spent a couple hours doing some research and filling out some forms and I saved $20,000, I'd probably buy you a drink, maybe even dinner. I definitely would be in your debt for doing these nice things. So please do not keep this secret. If you know anybody that can take advantage of this program, or you think that they might be able to take advantage of this program, share it. I know that a lot of you aren't in the offices right now, but if you have a way to talk to some of your younger employees or people that have just gotten out of college, please let them know that this program exists, because this information is not getting out there. I don't care if you share this video or another resource. Well, I would like you to share this video because it does help us out and it does help us more information that's out there. Any way that you can share this information of taking a look at this waiver before it expires is huge. You can be the hero in the office, making sure that other people are looking at this benefit. Through this video, we've been talking about a lot of the phenomenal benefits about this new limited time waiver. So where should you start? Well, the first thing is get moving right away. Because we have a limited time only till the end of October, you need to start working on this today. Now, you might say, well, geez, this is 10 months away. We have plenty of time. Sure, but that clock ticks quicker. Remember, you might have to consolidate your loans over to the direct loans. You might have to get some documentation. There's a lot of research that you want to be able to do. You want to make sure you're following the right process. And if everybody waits until the summertime or into early fall, you are going to be overwhelmed and the program's going to be overwhelmed and you might not qualify. So don't procrastinate. Make sure you're taking advantage of this now. One of the things that I suggest is doing your research before you start doing anything. We've put a lot of links in the description section. Some of them are from kitsis.com, Student Loan Planner, even studentaid.gov. There's a lot of different areas that you can be able to take advantage of and get the research that you need to make sure you're doing the right thing. The next thing you want to be able to do is use a PSLF help tool. This tool is an assist right on the studentaid.gov website. There's a link to it in the description section, and it will actually put in all of the different information from your employers and your times of service. This is a really good tool to get the verified employers all set. Now, they'll still have to verify your employment, but it's a good way to be able to do it and start the process a lot quicker. And you'll still have to do some paper forms, but it gets you a lot quicker in the queue and getting made sure that this is done sooner. You don't want to be waiting till the last minute before you start doing this, because the institutions doing this are going to be overwhelmed. And last thing, if you are overwhelmed yourself, get some professional help. I've mentioned student loan planners before. They're a company that is consultants that help with student loans of all different types. They do a lot in public service loan forgiveness. We get no compensation for recommending them, but we found that they have a really good source of information. They do their research on things, and they are very helpful. They save people a lot of money. Again, we don't get any compensation from them. We just feel that they're a good resource for you and you can be taken care of. Again, if you have any insights with them, if you've used them in the past, please put a comment so we can see what's going on and other people can see what's going on. And if you've gotten forgiveness from your public service loan forgiveness, either because of the waiver or previously, let's hear what's happened. I love to hear when people save money. It's always a great thing when tools are being used and people are using their benefits in a good way. If you've liked this video and you're still watching it, please hit that like button so we know to make more content like this. And again, share this with as many people as you can. And again, if it's not this resource, share something. Just get this word out there so you can help other people and make sure they save as much money as they possibly can. Because once this is gone, they're not going to get it again. It's very unlikely that this is going to be extended or they're going to make some of these into permanent law changes. As always, we want the best for you and your family, so please get unbiased, conflict-free advice. Thank you for your time today, and we look forward to helping you in the next video.